What is up, everybody? Today we are back with a very special guest. I want to give a big shout out to my grandfather for helping this happen, but we have a very special guest on the channel today. Some of you probably know him as there's a movie about him and his story. He's a former Philadelphia Eagle, and some could call him Mr. Invincible. So let's welcome to the show, Vince Papale. How are you doing today, Vince?
Oh, doing great, man. It's great to talk to you. Yep, absolutely. Even though you're up there at near Villanova, and you got to watch out. I'm a hawk. The hawk will never die. But my good buddy is Jay Wright. I love his commentary in the basketball games. He'll be on tonight, TBS tonight in the later game, I think. But yeah, man, it's all good. I can't wait to talk to you. So let's go.
Yeah, so I guess I just want to ask you a few questions. I want to start kind of. I'm sure you've talked about your movie countless times, all that, your
Uh-huh.
story. But I guess the one thing I'd ask is, what was like, how cool was it to see the behind the scenes in that, and just
Oh,
even witness it all?
that's a great question. I always get asked, "Is your wife still a Giants fan? Is she a bartender? How true is the story?" And all that. When I walked on the set for the first time, we were filming the pro football scenes. Everything was filmed in Philadelphia, and we were at the University of Pennsylvania. And there's a little irony there because my wife Janet was the head gymnastics coach at the University of Pennsylvania, and Elizabeth Banks, who played her in a movie, went to Penn, and which was pretty cool. But when I walked in, Bryce, and I got, I saw. I saw Wahlberg, in my Eagles uniform for the first time. I saw about 4 or 5 body doubles. There were just cranes, cameras, everything. There were 5,000 extras, and it was like the coolest thing. It was just totally overwhelming. And I was on film. I was there all the time. What we did is because the neighborhood, we filmed all the pro scenes were filmed were filmed there at Franklin Field, which I had competed at and played in the Penn relays, and then all of the rough touch and all that stuff that was done at Central High School and Girls High. So we did that, and then we spent a week out in Dallas to do those Dallas scenes, which was really cool. The Dallas cheerleaders were real, but the guys that were playing in the movie, the football players, it was so intense. I tell you, these guys are going after it, and because it was so goddamn hot. When it's August, it's July, it's the middle of July, let's see when we start. Yeah, that's what it was, and the turf on the field was about 110 degrees, but the players, the guys that were playing the Eagles team, the Bengals team, wherever it was, and those guys were all Arena Football League players or former NFL players. So and the intensity was high. There were a lot of fights. I mean, just fights. That's just the way it is. And it's like training camp. It was so cool, but it took 13 weeks to shoot, and it was great. It was just the most amazing experience. My kids, my daughter Gabriella, she was Gabby. That's her cheer outfit from Syracuse. But Gabby Gabriella was 11. Vinny was, I guess he was about 9, 8, and he and Wahlberg were so funny because they're both lefties. So between every scene that we're shooting in Franklin Field, or whether we were shooting the touch football scenes in the mud or whatever it was, those two were always having a catch, which was really cool. And then he used to drive around. He used to drive around Penn on the track, this little Honda scooter that he tricked out and made it an Eagles Honda scooter. And he would drive around without his shirt on. He had his 15 pack, and my kids in the background, like thinking, they were the hogs, man. It was so cool. So, and I'm looking at that scooter right now. He gave it to us after the shooting of the movie. So for you in the audience out there, I'm filming this and taping this here from. I'm actually taping it from Jupiter, Florida. It's where I live, but I do have a house right off South Street in Second and Fitzwater. So, all right. That was a good one.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess the next question I have is, I mean, how did the producers of the movie come to you and say they want to, go off your story and make this movie? Like, what was that like?
Well, it was pretty wild actually. I was always known as the real life Rocky, and the movie Rocky in 2002 was turning 25. Believe it or not, it came out in '77. So the movie was turning 25. So I got a call from NFL Films. This guy Pete DiStefano, um, he said, "Hey, you mind if we put this feature together on Monday Night Football? It's called Distant Replay, and it's going to be Ron Jaworski's there, Stuart Scott's there. They're going to introduce it." And they did this. They did this feature. You know, you're on YouTube, and you can get it. You can get it. You can see the. You can see that if you go to YouTube, go to Papale ESPN. So they showed it on Monday Night Football, and the next day Hollywood came calling, and then it was a process, and the process wasn't cheap. I'd have to get an agent, I had to get an attorney, and when and at that point we hadn't been dealing with Disney. So there's this guy you wouldn't even know, wouldn't even think he's about this big. He's about this tall. His name's Ken Mock, but he created America's Next Top Model, and he was one of the he was a creator of reality TV, and he thought this movie could be sort of like a reality TV thing, kind of thing. So he hired somebody, wrote a spec script, and then what they did in 2004, they gave the script out to about 10 people in Hollywood, and the guys, the movie Rookie, the movie Miracle, the movie Rookie, and those kind. Well, the guys that did that movie with Disney took the screenplay over to Walt Disney, and as soon as the guy saw it, he was a South Philly guy. I was his idol, believe it or not, and he said, "This is the one." And he took it over to the lady that ran Buena Vista Pictures. She said, "You're right. This is the one." And then they started shooting in 2005. Excuse me.
Well, I mean, that's crazy, and that must have been very cool. Um, and I guess the next question I'll ask, I guess, a little bit about your personal story. I don't know how many people are familiar with your story. You can explain that in a sec, but I mean, I guess I'll ask: do you think anyone would ever get this opportunity that you had today, or do you think people should? Do you think that should be a thing?
Oh, I think it would be great. It'd be great from a publicity point of view, because the Redskins had done it. They got a guy in a free agent tryout, and and coach had done it, and they're not going to do it, because now just the way it's structured, and with the scouts and the whole deal, they don't want anybody to think that they haven't done their homework. So I don't think that would happen. But there's 1,000 guys out there like me that are just chomping at the bit, would just love the opportunity to get a shot with the bird, get a shot with their favorite NFL team. See, I was a season ticket holder for 10 years. My season tickets, I was at St. Joe's. And when I was a sophomore at St. Joe's, I got season tickets at Franklin Field for the Eagles. And my season tickets were $60. And all the guys that you see in the movie, my buddies, the Goombas, they're all real characters, and it was pretty cool, So anyway, what they did is they put it up for auction, and basically, and so they have got 8 or 9 or 10 producers or studios going around, and Disney outbid everybody 7 figures, and they called me and they said, "You're now the property of Walt Disney." And my story became Invincible, and we really didn't have Invincible in the original title. They wanted it, but it was owned. The rights were owned by Warner Brothers. So what they did a horse trade, and so they gave the rights to the word Invincible to me, and we gave them whatever they wanted to have. So that it was pretty cool. So so it was actually because of Rocky, 25 years old. I know Sylvester. He's right down the river down here in Boca Raton, and it's pretty cool, So it was wild, man. I tell you, this is like the craziest that 3 or 4 year period from the time in 2002 when I was contacted by NFL Films, and then 2006 when the movie came out were 4 of the craziest years I've ever spent in my life, and it was so cool. We were going back and forth commuting first class back to Santa Monica to be in Disney. We're big shots. So it was. And my kids just I mean, you imagine you're 11 years old, you're 8 years old, and you have basically you have the key to the kingdom, and that was my kids. It was really wild.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a dream right there. And I mean, how was your physical time with the Eagles when you played?
My physical time, what was that? When I was playing.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure I understand what you mean by physical time.
Like how was it playing with the Eagles?
Oh my God, you kidding me? Jesus. Yeah, well, you see those scenes, and I'm pointing up to my dad and whoever my love interest at the time, and I mean it was like the craziest thing in the world. You can't even imagine the feeling coming from a season ticket holder, and I was a pretty well known athlete at in Philadelphia in the Delaware Valley area. I grew up in Delaware County. I went to Interboro High School. I became their head track coach, assistant football coach. But I went to St. Joe's on a track scholarship. And St. Joe's was all men back then, and they didn't have college football, and so that was it. So I was actually trying to qualify for the Olympic trials in the decathlon, and I didn't quite get there because of whatever. And I got pissed off, and I started playing semi-pro football, and then semi-pro football led to the NFL. Somebody saw me. They said there was a free agent. There was a free agent camp that was coming up, or a walk-on camp, and as they say, the rest is history, which was pretty cool. Coach Ramiro had no idea who I was, but he did. He found out right from the very very beginning when I ran that 40, when I popped a 4.5 on grass. I mean that's about a 4.35 right here on turf. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Um, and I mean, do you watch the Eagles today? Are you still involved with
Oh
them?
yeah. I get up to Philly. They'll bring me in, and I'll do some pregame stuff with them. They'll run me around sometime in a golf cart, and I'll go visit and drink. I'll visit tailgates and see how much tequila I can drink, and or and then I'll go inside and I'll sign out in the concourse, and I'll sign autographs. Yeah, usually with my buddy Sean Landetta, and so I love the Eagles. It's my team, man. Tommy McDonald, and the year they won they won. It wasn't a Super Bowl then; it was the World Championship, but that was 1960, and I was all about the Philadelphia Eagles, man. They were my team. If the Eagles lost, and they lost a lot back then, I couldn't even read a newspaper. I was just so what I'm saying. I was so into it. I couldn't even read a freaking newspaper. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah. So I mean, how do you feel about them today? I mean, coming off a Super Bowl
Oh,
win.
geez, first of all, getting Saquon that and then Jalen that he got it all figured out toward the end, and he started finding his secondary receivers, and he just really blossomed, and oh my God, the defense, our defensive coordinator just totally frustrated Andy and totally frustrated uh, the QB, man, and that was a beautiful thing to watch. Those first couple of series is when I saw him, and I saw Mahomes and how frustrated he was. I said, This is going to be a good game for us." I didn't go there. I was here in Philadelphia. I was prepping for this heart surgery I had, so I had to lay low. I wasn't around, be around a whole lot of people, so I didn't go to the Super Bowl for this one. But I did see it, watched it. I live in a cul-de-sac right here off on a golf course where Ricky Fowler's here, Joe Namath's here. I mean, it's really cool, and every time you turn around, you'll see somebody from a retired pro at whatever sport it is. So it's pretty neat neighborhood, Jupiter, Florida.
Yeah. Um, I mean, another thing I'll ask is, I mean, how do you? I mean, you played way back in the day. I don't want to call you old or anything, but
Oh, I'm
yeah, yeah. Well, you played way back in the day, and I mean, now you're seeing what the game's like today. So, I mean, how do you feel about the development of the game and all the records and all that stuff? How do you feel about that?
I'm not real happy with the way it's gone. The game's gotten soft, and the rules changes, and they took some of the things. I couldn't if I were to go out and try to uh, become come in for a free agent tryout. With my style of play, I was hitting everybody at a defensive backs mentality as a wide receiver, and crackback blocks, breaking the wedge, coming in doing this. I mean, all kinds of crazy things. I wouldn't even get a second look. So and this new the dynamic kickoff, it's just come on, give me a break. Don't I mean, before you know it, I was going to say before you know it's going to become flag football, but I'm not going to say anything bad about that because my son Vinny just got his Italian citizenship, and he's a dual citizen now, and he's going to be playing for the Italian Olympic flag football team. So, and he just finished up the world championship, and he did pretty good. So yeah, so we got football in the blood here.
Yeah, that's super cool. Um, I mean, yeah, I would say the game's getting very soft. I mean, even from two Super Bowls ago, when they called that last second flag on James Bradbury and the Eagles lost because of it. I mean,
Oh. Yeah, I know it's bad. I'm sorry about this cough. The anesthesia sort of did a number on me, so it's all good.
yeah. Um, and I guess now what I'll ask you is, what piece of advice would you give to kids like me today? That I mean, something that could seem so far fetched, but could be around the corner. Like I mean, like your story. I mean, what advice would you give to kids today?
Well, I would give the same kind of advice that my high school coach George Corner gave me when I was at Interboro, and then he went on and he became the head coach at oh my God, where was he? Up there in Bucks County. And anyway, coach, when I was trying out, everybody was doubting me. Are you going to do it? You didn't play college football. It's not in your resume. You're too old. It's too risky. It's too this. It's too that. So I go to him, and he gave me this really great quote, and it's happy are those who dream dreams and are willing to pay the price to make their dreams come true. And hey, you know what? You just go for it. And it's all about the dream. That's what Invincible is about. The unthinkable, the undoable, the impossible. And don't let others dictate who you are. And if you feel that confident, that's one thing you got to feel it. But the next thing is you got to perform. You have to be accountable. You have to do all the things, make the sacrifices. I mean, you've heard it all. So, so that's my advice that I would give anybody out there. Take a run at it. What do you got to lose? Just give it a shot. With me, I would have gone if I didn't make the team. I would have gone back to Interboro and continued teaching, finish my master's degree, become a guidance counselor, and probably a principal. And I'd be retiring right now.
Yeah, it's crazy. Um, when I guess when you got onto the Eagles, what did the Interborough community have for you? I mean, was it great to see them supporting you and being with you?
Well, they were there for me at training camp because training camp was in Widener, which was right down the
Oh
street
yeah,
from Interboro. And and I knew everybody. I knew everybody in Delaware County because I coached, taught, lived there for my entire life. So and then as the story started to develop, and I sort of became the darling of the press, and then I started making plays. I was making big plays, on special teams. We had 6 preseason games. I was scoring touchdowns. I led the team in the preseason in touchdowns and receptions. So I would have been a little bit pissed off if I didn't make the team. But it was sort of cool because my dad worked at Westinghouse on the river, so him and all his buddies would come, in their Westinghouse blue, and then all the guys from the rough touch and the semi-pro teams that I was playing on, they'd bring their coolers of beer and they'd hang there, and then my students would be there. I mean, it was wild. It was a party, and then after practice would be over, I'd be mobbed, absolutely mobbed, and it wasn't a day when there weren't the cell phones and not selfies kinds of things. So it was totally insane, and it was pretty cool.
yeah. I mean, who would you say was maybe? the most influential or the most you looked up to them along your journey, and they like gave you uh they influenced you the most?
Well, Tommy McDonald, because he was my idol, and yeah, he was a little guy, and I was always a little guy. When I was in high school, I was told I was too small to play football, but I grew when I got into college, and I was a pole vaulter decathlete and all that stuff at St. Joe's, and uh, it's just I don't know what was the question again. Now I'm too many hits to the head.
Well, I mean, you answered. I was saying, like, who was the most influential person that you
Oh, well,
you
the
encountered?
most influential person was certainly George Corner. My because he was my mentor. Um, not for anything, and don't feel sorry for me, but my mother suffered from anxiety and depression, and she was institutionalized when I was in junior high school at Interboro. And so my teachers and coaches. My dad was on strike half the time at Westinghouse, working 3 days. I mean, three jobs, trying to keep everything going with our insurance because my mom's medical bills. And so you have your Mount Rushmore, and certainly my dad and my mom. My mom was a great athlete, and my dad was a great athlete. And then Coach Corner, who kept me straight. And when he got up to high school, he gave me the opportunity to play for the football team, first year senior. And then of course he gave me that great quote about dreams. And then of course excuse me, Dick Vermeil, who gave me the shot, the opportunity of a lifetime. And after the first couple of weeks of training camp, he just says, I like what I see. He says, you're not going to go anywhere. He says, so no pressure. And then what he did is, Miami's only about 60 miles south of where I'm at right now. So we had a game, and it was going to be Friday night football and a preseason game, and it's at the Orange Bowl. I mean, here I am with, growing up with a project at Glen Olin, and I got my black and white, TV, and it's you had all the football games on for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, and then I see the palm trees, it's oh my God, and now, so there I am. I'm in the Orange Bowl, and so I'm doing pregame warm up, and a guy yells, "Yo, Vinny, what's going on?" And here was Mike Painter. He was one of my neighbors. He lived like a par five from me, in Glen Olden. And he was down there. Anyway, I had 5 catches, and I had a few knockdown blocks. I got in a couple of scuffles. And Coach Vermeil took me out after the first half. And the next day, when we were in film study, he said, "I'm going to show you something." And he said, "Look at this guy." And he says, he says, he didn't play college football. I mean, you all think he's a freak. He said, but he's going to make this football team. Look what he did last night. And that was it. I was nuts, man. I cried. And Dad, we're going to pull this off. Shit, man, we're going to pull this, pardon my French. We're going to pull this off. And 2 weeks later, they made the final cut. And there I was. I made it.
Well, it's a crazy story, and I mean, I would say it's a influential one for sure. I mean, for people that I mean, what you were from the stands to the field, pretty much, essentially.
Yeah, yeah. Well, huddle up today. Make a difference today with tomorrow mine. That was a great quote I got from Herm Edwards. It was one of my favorite teammates, Denny Franks, my beloved Denny Franks. Denny Franks, from Michigan, was such a big influence on me. Roman Gabriel, this guy's an All-Pro with the Rams all the time, and he showed me some stuff and showed me some nuances and how to run routes and not give things up. And Hal Carmichael was a big influence on me. Once he realized that I wasn't a freak, then we became the best of friends, and we always hung out. We always had a good time, But it was just getting you got to get that opportunity. And Coach Vermeil has a lot of great sayings. One of them, nobody ever drowned in sweat. And the other one is, opportunity is going to come out a thousand different ways. And I'm sort of short circuiting it. But when that chance, first of all, you got to seize it, and next thing, you got to be ready for it and be prepared. And that's about the best advice I give. But don't let anybody tell you if you feel that you can do it and it's within the law, and whatever. Give it a shot. What do you got to lose?
Yeah, it's great.
That goes
Um,
beyond ego.
yeah, and I mean, I don't want to switch the topic, but I just thought of a question. I mean, Mark Wahlberg, he's everywhere. He's in a lot of movies. So I mean, how was it to see him play your role as a pretty known actor? How was that experience?
Well, it's funny. It's funny. Mark told us. He says this is going to be the first movie that I've ever been a feature in, and I'm still alive at the end of the movie, right? And and then the other one was when he was doing the thing with the Navy SEALs. But he was great. We were out every night with with the producers. It was one. You get done the shooting the movie, the nighttime scenes they shot them overnight in the middle of the night, so you couldn't see any stars. They do that. And but Mark was just phenomenal to work with, and we're still close. And our kids reach out to him; he reaches out to them, and he got tired of Hollywood, so he's out in Henderson, Nevada, right outside Las Vegas right now.
Yeah. Oh, I guess you mentioned your kids. I mean, did they at the time did they realize? I'm sure they're growing up now, but at the time, did they realize how cool it was what they were experiencing, and what exactly was happening?
No, they were in total awe. Everybody loved them, and my wife Janet. Janet was really cool because she's a jock. She was on the USA team. That's her jersey over my shoulder, and it's they just rolled with it. Now my biggest regret is I wish I had them with me when I was playing for the Eagles, and they could have seen what I had done. But they have some highlight films, and they did a pretty good job of recreating it with the movie. I mean, Disney and the production team and the second unit, the guys that are the ones who played the football scenes, was bar none. They were all the guys who did Miracle. They did Rookie. They did let's see, the Game Plan with The Rock. So they have quite a pedigree when it comes to sports movies.
Yeah. So I mean, other than Wahlberg, are you close with most of them today? Do you still talk to them, or?
Well, I'm really close. And Mark and I mostly text. We don't talk. But Mark Chiardi um, is one guy that was really influential. He's the one that did Miracle Rookie and all that. And matter of fact, my kids are getting married. Gabriella's getting married in June. Vinny's getting married in May. And the Shorty's coming from the West Coast. He survived the fires, and he's coming from the West Coast. And I'll see him for the first time in a couple of years. So yeah, we're pretty, and I'm very very close with the executive producer Ken Mock. So he's coming out for the movie. He'll be out here too for the movie. Well, not here. We'll be in Philadelphia for the weddings.
Yeah, it's very crazy. And it must have been so cool. I mean, to just watch, especially from your point of view. I mean, your story, let alone, I mean, when you were playing football, and then couple years later, you get a movie made about you. I mean, it's insane stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty sick when you think about it. I mean, really, come on, man. Look at all this. I came down here in Florida 9 years ago. A guy called me out of the clear blue sky. He says, I'm having a golf tournament, the first annual golf tournament for COPS, Concerns of Police Survivors, and you can see that that's the flag for that tournament, for that championship. So I came down, and he says, "What's your fee?" And I said, "You don't want to know my fee." I said, "Just fly me in from Philly, and and bring me down here to Jupiter, and buy me a couple beers, give me a hotel room for a couple 3 nights, and we got a deal." And that was it. And then Janet, my wife, when I met her, was living in Boynton Beach on a golf course. And Boynton's right there by Delray and Boca, and all those really cool areas. And and she was a realtor. And we came in here to Turtle Creek, and we saw this cul-de-sac and this hacienda, basically, that was barely standing up. And we bought it for dirt cheap. We put a couple bucks into it, and now it's my paradise. It's just insane. It's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, my my grandma in the winter, she goes down to Florida. She's in Del Rey, so
Oh yes,
um,
I made 15 miles.
yeah. So I'm a little familiar with the area. It's very beautiful though. But I
Oh,
mean, I'm sitting in my desk chair here as a high school student, and just imagining. I mean, it must be so cool. Um,
you
and
can't you can't you can't even imagine the view I have looking. I have my garage door open, and it's like 80 degrees. There's no wind. It's beautiful. There's not a cloud in the sky. And it's those things that I used to dream about when I would watch the Orange Bowl, back in the day on black and white TV. And here I'm here in full color, and just pinching myself every day. I love it. My father was a farmer, and I got his genes. So I do a lot of landscaping work out here. A lot of stuff I do. I don't cut the grass, and we have a pretty big lot. But yeah, we do we just love it. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, enjoy it, but I mean, it's a crazy story, ladies and gentlemen, Vince Papale. But I mean, is there anything else you want to say before we end up here?
Well, I'm going to give you another quote that was given to us by our team pastor when we were playing the Dallas Cowboys. He's got us all together. Everybody's holding hands. And he says, everybody here thinks you're going to lose to those Cowboys. He said, but you know what? Let's hold hands and let's pray. And he gave his quote, and it said, hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is like a broken winged bird that cannot fly. Bryce, I had no idea what he said and what he meant. Oh, I know. I went flying out the door, and we kicked the Cowboys' butts for 59 minutes and 36 seconds. And we were punting from the end zone, and one of our guys missed his assignment, and they blocked the punt and won the game. And I was the captain of the team. But you know what? It was great. So just chase your dream, man. Hold fast to your dreams. Don't let anybody tell you can't. And believe in yourself and surround yourself with positive people who have an invincible background like you do. Just the fact that you're doing this is so freaking cool. I love it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome very much.
All right. Well, I appreciate you for talking with me today,
Yeah,
and I hope
man,
you
it's
have a
cool.
great.
Yeah, I was looking
I hope
forward.
you
I
have a
got a half hour. Let's go. We got some basketball games coming up tonight. So that'll
yeah,
be
Sweet 16s tonight. But
it is.
again, thank you so much for your time. But
You're welcome.
uh, yeah, have a great rest of your day, and that's gonna do it for this video. But thank you guys so much for watching, and of course, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new. But that is Vince Papale, and thank you.